And there I was the girl from Suits.
This one's wife. Where's Harry? Charlotte Griffiths writes in the Daily Mail, when Netflix signed an £80 million deal with Prince Harry, executives might have hoped for lots of exclusive personal footage. But his new 5-part documentary series about polo hardly features the Duke at all. Instead, it focuses on his friend, Nacho Figueras, a little-known Argentinian player. Well, interesting, if this is accurate, Harry barely appears in the programme, which shows again the fact that he's not particularly interested in this content creation. And it's also interesting that the attention focuses on Nacho Figueras. Perhaps this might be Harry's old homage to his pal. A source last night claimed Netflix boxes have been disappointed with just how much the final edit focuses on the unknown, saying the streaming giant expected more bang for its buck. Surely they'd have learned their lesson by now, that if you involve yourself with this one's wife and Harry, you really are not going to end up with anything meaningful. Their track record demonstrates this. You've got a charisma-free woman who has no magnetism, who repeats anecdotes about soap advertisements from when she was 11 years old, leeches off other people's ideas, doesn't have an original thought in her body, and a ginger who admittedly is decent enough at the service aspect of things, but he has to be basically told, go there, stand over there, be pointed that way. Neither of them are known for having any real gumption or get up and go when it comes to originality. They like to be described as thought leaders, which of course is rather hilarious. But you really would think that Netflix would have realised by now that other than whinging about their own personal circumstances and how they perceive themselves to have been hard done by, they've got nothing to offer. Through their company Archwell, Harry and his wife, this one's wife, are executive producers of the series, titled simply Polo, and due out in December. I should imagine, valuable viewers, that you'll have something much more interesting to be doing in December than watching Polo. But behind the scenes, it has been nicknamed The Nacho Show. The couple signed a 5-year deal in 2020 for several shows, but one Hollywood producer explained, what Netflix have received in return doesn't look great. People want personal stuff. Apart from their documentary series, which had the drama of them quitting the royal family, everything else they've produced has been underwhelming. Any reasonable person tuning into a show about polo made by Prince Harry would expect Harry to take a starring role. That he's not is hugely disappointing for Netflix, though, as I say, it's not really surprising. Let's face it, polo isn't exactly a mainstream sport, so the attraction would have been watching Harry. Without him, it's marginal at best. The Netflix deal expires next year, so the Sussexes need a big hit. This sounds like a big nothing burger. Another insider said, for a show about the sport of kings, polo barely features any royalty. It's not the Harry show, it's the Nacho show. Mr. Figueras, age 47, has been dubbed the David Beckham of polo, but one source said, nice of Harry to do his mate a favour, but Nacho speaks broken English and is just not mainstream enough to pull in the ratings. Accordingly, Netflix are asking, where's Harry in relation to the content that's coming, but other people have been asking, where's this one's wife, as a consequence of the fact that Harry has been going it alone. He was described as being very jolly when he bounded into the Well Child Awards in London with a smile and set about making a fuss of the children who had gathered to meet him. He undertook his 7th solo engagement, which had been undertaken in 7 days. This one's wife and the children didn't travel to London or to New York, where the Prince gave 5 high-profile speeches last week and appeared on Jimmy Fallon's The Tonight Show. Nor was the Duchess accompanying Harry when he arrived in Lesotho on Tuesday, for what became his 8th solo appearance in as many days. Particularly given the couple's previous joint trips to Nigeria and Colombia in recent months, the Duke's solo appearances have raised perhaps inevitably the question, where's this one's wife? For a couple who have described themselves as salt and pepper because they always move together and bought their Monteshitshow house because 2 connected palm trees were reminiscent of their relationship, their professional separation is new. While the Duchess focuses on her commercial venture, American Riviera Orchard, which is expected to launch next year. So, the launch that took place in March wasn't really a launch, and then the jam that came out wasn't really part of the launch, and then the jam and the dog biscuits wasn't really part of the launch, and now it's actually going to take place next year. Yeah. Nevertheless, whilst it's apparently going to be launched alongside a Netflix series on gardening and cooking, how exciting, the Duke, it appears, is going it alone. The question of the Duchess's whereabouts is easy to answer in technical terms. She's at home, while her husband travels. She's also working on plans for American Riviera Orchard, including a range of jams which have been distributed to influential friends. One wonders here if the Telegraph's taking the piss to suggest that she's at home working on the jams. What's she doing? Blackberries or black currants or gooseberries? Decisions. How shall I position this label? Shall I stick it on fully or just put it on in a somewhat slipshod manner? Decisions. This is the problem, that this one's wife doesn't really have much to do, and to suggest that she sat at home thinking about jam is ridiculous. The fact is, she has been keeping a low profile as a consequence of trying to nullify the threats to control that have emerged in relation to the rumours about her bullying behaviour. The report continues by explaining that Prince Harry has made it abundantly clear that his wife and children will not travel back to Britain for now. This, as I've repeatedly explained, is because this one's wife's narcissism sees Britain as too hostile. In an ITV interview earlier this year in which he talked about the media insecurity, he said plainly, "It's one of the reasons why I won't bring my wife back to this country." Harry himself has been 4 times so far this year. But the couple have, since they left the royal family, tended to work together. Their new Parents Network, a support group for those whose children have suffered harm online, is a joint venture. Their Netflix and Spotify deals were signed together. This one's wife has joined the Invictus family, or sought to take it over, arising from the games founded by the Duke. They've cheered one another on at award shows and famously worked from a shared office at home. They've previously had an outing to New York together, the trip which inspired the description of quasi-royal tour, which has followed them ever since, followed by a trip to Nigeria in May 2024 and another to Colombia in August. In the last week, by contrast, Harry has appeared alone at New York events for the Diana Award, landmining clearance charity Halo Trust, African Parks, ecotourism firm Travelist, and for a speech on young people's digital wellness. The schedule has prompted speculation among royal observers that he is hankering for his royal life, with the exception of a televised haunted house skit with Jimmy Kimmel, the US comedian. I thought it was Fallon, anyway. And a private hour spent in a tattoo parlour. The programme could have been plucked from any week of his former role as a working royal. On Tuesday, he flew straight from his solo London outing to Southern Africa for events with Sentebale, the charity founded in 2006 to help children affected by HIV in Lesotho and Botswana. There has been a separation of their work for a while, notes PR strategist Mark Borofsky, who has followed coverage of the Sussexes closely. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to think there's something going on. She has been doing the jam thing, the Martha Stewart play. He seems to be going back to basics. It may well be the case, of course, that Harry's doing what he knows best, the meet and greets, the shaking of the hands, and he's fed up with the celebrity. This one's wife isn't interested in doing that. She wants to be the celebrity, albeit, whilst she is one, she's a disliked one. Could this be the beginning of the end for them, as Harry spends more time away from her, wanting to return to his roots? Might it be that it's actually an attempt to rehabilitate his image in order to try and worm his way back into being a working member of the royal family? Might it be that Harry's finally standing up for himself, that he's sick of being seen as the spare part, as he was seen in the trips to Nigeria and Colombia, and now he wants to engage in the behaviour of getting back to what he did, that he's perhaps realised, or possibly even been advised, that criticising his family was not a sensible thing for him to do, and instead that he has been advised, or perhaps has realised, that it's better for him to go back to basics for the way that he deals with children, for the way that he conducts himself with the disadvantaged and the disabled, in order to show a better side of himself, one which isn't overpowered by the influence and machinations of this one's wife. Could it be that she's in agreement to him doing this because her eye is elsewhere? Or is this a serious threat to her control, with Harry deeming, I'm sick of playing second fiddle to you, I'm going back to what I know, you can arse around with the jam? Might we see that as a consequence of this apparent independence by Harry, that could this be the beginning of the end for the two of them, that this supposed professional separation might be the foreshadowing of the demise of their relationship? Certainly this one's wife will not be best pleased about Harry going it alone, unless, of course, she is preoccupied with facing other things, that she is perhaps looking for a replacement for Harry, that she is focused on other matters and therefore is content for him to wander off. Or could it have been that she faced, in effect, rebellion from Harry, who has had enough of being treated to being the spare in the relationship, and her ability to control him is seriously under threat? What are your thoughts about this? Do you think that you're seeing the beginning of the end now for their relationship, with this protracted period of time where he's away from her? Or do you think that it's just part of her sanctioning that in an attempt to rehabilitate his image and for her to lie low as a consequence of the criticisms that have been aimed at her in relation to her being a bullying boss? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.